Okay, get this. Imagine a nation, right, fighting a brutal, absolutely existential war, a
Hmm.
fight for its very survival. And they just announced this landmark policy decision. They're not just sustaining their forces, they're planning to export their own domestically produced military hardware to the global market
While still fighting.
while still fighting. And this isn't, desperation. Sources are calling it a direct result of industrial hypergrowth inside a war zone.
Yeah.
We are talking about Ukraine and the implications of this announcement. This was late September 2025. They're just staggering.
Welcome to Nation Scope Podcast.
Yes, welcome.
Join Jordan and Jamie as they dive into the latest headlines, breaking stories, and critical events shaping America and the world.
That's what we do.
From politics to culture, from the economy to technology, we analyze the news that matters most.
And today, you are joining us for a deep dive into, well, it's a really sophisticated national strategy, multi-pronged. This isn't just about selling weapons,
No, it's much bigger than that.
It's about statecraft. It's about creating a self-sufficient security provider in Europe. So our mission here is to analyze the drivers, the why, this industrial necessity, the how are they setting up this controlled export system,
Right.
and the geopolitical so what? How does this challenge Russia? How does it cement this huge partnership with the U.S.?
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how this is going to shake up the global arms market. We're talking battle-tested tech here.
Yeah, that phrase keeps coming up.
And we definitely need to look closely at this proposed drone deal with the U.S. Because if that goes through, wow, that's the ultimate validation for Ukrainian tech.
Huge implications.
And maybe even more critical, how Kyiv is strategically using these systems now to challenge Russia directly in places like Africa and the Middle East, traditional Russian markets.
Okay, so to really get this pivot, we have to start with the paradox, what some sources are calling the successful problem.
Right. It sounds strange, but yeah.
Ukraine's defense industry, it's just seen explosive growth since the full-scale invasion started back in 22. Especially, as you mentioned, unmanned systems, drones.
Yes, it's incredible.
You have this decentralized ecosystem. Over 200 companies focused just on UAVs, innovating at, well, breakneck speed. Because they have to. Survival depends on it.
And this capacity buildup, it wasn't some 5-year plan. It was immediate necessity. That speed has now created this economic imperative. It just has to be addressed.
So.
Well, the sheer scale of innovation has created a massive funding mismatch. Get this. Sources are indicating the defense industrial base, it's capable of producing up to 17 billion in equipment in 2024 alone.
17 billion euros. Okay.
But here's the kicker you really need to internalize.
Yeah.
The government's domestic budget. It can only afford to fund about half of that capacity. Roughly half.
Wait a minute. So if they can make 17 billion worth of stuff, but only pay for, say, 8 or 9 billion, isn't there a huge risk that this whole defense infrastructure, this hypergrowth sector they desperately need, couldn't it just collapse if or when external aid slows down?
That's the fear.
So this export policy, it isn't just about making money, is it? It sounds like it's about immediate industrial survival.
Precisely. Exactly right. If that surplus capacity isn't used, those innovative companies, they risk stagnating or folding completely. And Ukraine loses that technological edge it's fought so hard for.
Right.
So the core objective of this new policy, it's not just profit. It's creating a perpetually self-sustaining funding model.
Yeah.
Think of it like a closed-loop financial strategy.
Okay.
100%. Every cent of export proceeds is immediately mandatorily earmarked for reinvestment.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
That money must go directly towards buying or domestically producing scarce, high-priority military capabilities, things they can't easily make yet.
Okay, that clarity is crucial. Tells you exactly where the priorities are. So what systems are they selling versus what are they buying? What's the surplus? What's the deficit?
They're essentially converting fast-produced surplus into high-tech deficit items. That's the trade.
Makes sense.
The systems they're selling are generally those that have hit, high volume efficiency, and they're combat proven. Think maritime drones, this famous Magura V5, right? So effective in the Black Sea.
Definitely proven.
Anti-tank weapons, lots of those. And several other types of field-tested hardware. What are they buying with that money? That's where the high-value deficit is. Long-range strike systems, advanced components for their more sophisticated drones, and critically, modern air defense interceptors. which are notoriously expensive.
So yeah, like you said, on a balance sheet level, they're trading high volume, maybe lower margin defensive stuff for low volume, high value offensive or strategic systems.
That's the logic.
But beyond the economics,
Uh-huh.
this is some high-level geopolitical statecraft, isn't it? This policy, it instantly rebrands Ukraine on the global stage.
Absolutely. Instantly.
Right.
They shift from being seen just as a passive recipient of aid, reliant on Western handouts, to an active security provider. They're leveraging their unique position. I mean, they're the world's most intense high-tech laboratory for modern warfare right now.
Can't argue with that.
President Zelenskyy made this explicit. He basically declared they're offering allies access to powerful systems tested in a real war. That is the ultimate sales pitch. Undeniable. No other producer in the world can match that right now.
It definitely changes the global conversation.
Yeah.
Immediately. Which, okay, that shifts our focus right into security protocols, because when people hear wartime arms export, the immediate concern is security, accountability.
Yeah.
What's the blueprint here? How controlled is this global footprint going to be?
Right, and that's critical. This is where the doctrine of control comes in.
Yeah.
The government has been extremely careful to emphasize this is a tightly controlled export system.
Okay.
They established a strict three-tiered hierarchy, and it explicitly, legally, subordinates any commercial interest to national security needs.
A three-tiered system sounds good on paper, but, given the chaos of wartime logistics, the immediate needs of the front, how much confidence can international partners really have that the third tier, the exports, won't suddenly jump the queue if, say, a major counteroffensive kicks off?
That is the exact question. The credibility of the state export service hangs entirely on this. The prioritization is explicit. It's written into the policy.
Okay, what is it?
First priority. Always, always the immediate needs of the armed forces of Ukraine on the front line, period.
Right, non-negotiable.
Second, replenishing national arsenals and stockpiles, the strategic reserves. Only after those two are met. Only then does the third tier kick in. Managed exports to trusted international partners.
Managed and trusted. Keywords.
Exactly. This explicit structure is meant as a necessary security guarantee to assure allies that their commercial relationship won't undermine Ukraine's own war effort.
And what systems are getting the most buzz? I imagine those naval drones are top of the wish list for a lot of countries.
Unsurprisingly, yeah. Systems with undeniable combat resumes are generating global interest. The success of naval drones, particularly that Magura V5, against a major conventional navy like Russia's Black Sea Fleet, well, that's the ultimate testament, isn't it?
Hard to argue with sinking warships.
Exactly. It shows their utility against a near-peer adversary. It's difficult to argue with results when they're happening in real time, broadcast around the world.
This raises an important historical parallel. Is Ukraine really trailblazing here, or are they sort of following a proven path? Maybe one established by other nations under similar existential threat?
That's a great point. They are, in many ways, following a model that has worked before. Look at Israel's defense industry.
Right. Good example.
Faced with perpetual existential threats, they were forced into continuous, very high-cost innovation just to survive. And to fund that R&D, to achieve economies of scale, they created an industry where battle-tested technology was the primary export. Ukraine is now executing that precise model, turning immediate wartime innovation into a self-funding defense ecosystem, securing the future of their industrial base while also funding the present fight.
That's a really sophisticated economic adaptation under extreme pressure, and they aren't just targeting Western allies, are they? They've clearly laid out a strategic plan for market diversification across 4 key platforms.
That's right. It's not just about selling to NATO countries, though that's important. The 4 strategic platforms are highly differentiated. First, obviously, the United States, the premier strategic partner.
Okay.
Second, Europe, where allies are seeking joint production, interoperability.
Yeah.
They want to learn these battlefield lessons quickly and integrate them.
And the third platform you mentioned is the Middle East. Now that market is huge, historically relies on complex, expensive U.S. or European systems, or maybe cheaper Russian alternatives. Ukraine seems to offer a really valuable middle ground there.
Exactly. The Middle East is historically lucrative, and it specifically values systems that are cost-effective, proven, and available relatively quickly. Ukraine's ability to offer systems that have genuinely survived high-intensity combat against modern Russian equipment, well, that's a huge draw there.
Huge.
But the real game changer, geopolitically speaking, might be the 4th platform, Africa. This sounds like a strategic new frontier for Kyiv, directly challenging Russia's traditional role as, the continent's primary arms supplier.
Oh, this is pure geopolitical competition, no question. Russia has historically maintained influence in dozens of African nations, primarily through arms sales, often dated stuff, but cheap.
Right.
Ukraine is now coming in offering modern, proven, affordable systems, validated in intense conflict. Kyiv has already confirmed they've received multiple proposals. They've selected their first partner country on the continent.
Already? Wow.
Yeah, this is a direct, tangible encroachment on Moscow's sphere of influence. That makes the stakes incredibly high, which leads us nicely into the whole geopolitical competition and validation piece. Because nothing defines the credibility of this entire initiative more than the relationship with Washington, does it?
Absolutely not. The U.S. nexus is critical. It's anchored by two potentially massive initiatives that show real long-term commitment. First, there's the drone deal we mentioned earlier.
Right.
Negotiations for the U.S. to purchase Ukrainian unmanned systems for its own use, maybe testing, maybe more. This isn't just aid. It's a commercial transaction, and it provides the ultimate global validation.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. When the U.S. Pentagon decides to actually buy your technology, it completely de-risks the system for every other international buyer out there, from Norway to Nigeria. It's the highest stamp of approval you can possibly get in this market.
Couldn't agree more. And the second part of this nexus is the reciprocal mega deal. This is Ukraine negotiating to purchase up to $90 billion in advanced American weaponry.
90 billion.
Yeah, it shows deep, long-term strategic integration. It turns the security relationship into a genuine two-way street, potentially spanning decades. It's the U.S. investing in Ukraine's defense industry, and Ukraine investing heavily in U.S. advanced defense capability.
It seems clear, then, that this isn't some rogue move by Kyiv. It's a fully supported strategic direction backed by Western capitals, NATO, the EU, the U.S. They all see this as essential.
They do. They really do. They realize that a resilient, financially self-sufficient Ukrainian defense sector is, well, it's become a necessary cornerstone of future Euro-Atlantic security. And we've already seen a tangible shift in how aid is delivered because of this. The EU, for example, they've moved away from just simple grants, humanitarian or military, towards allocating aid via structured defense procurement contracts.
So buying Ukrainian-made gear with aid money.
Exactly. Over $35.1 billion has already been allocated towards actively supporting Ukraine's industrial base, buying Ukrainian where possible. It's a big shift.
But with great opportunity comes, well, significant peril. We can't ignore the risks associated with arms exports, especially from a wartime environment. What's the most significant danger our sources are flagging?
The biggest one, without a doubt, is the potential for weapons diversion, the black market.
Yeah, that's always the fear.
And this risk is absolutely the center of a persistent Russian disinformation campaign. They constantly try to circulate fabricated claims about Ukrainian weapons being sold illegally, showing up with criminal groups, terrorists, etc.
So the stakes aren't just financial here. They're about national reputation, trust, immense pressure.
Precisely. The credibility of Ukraine's state export service, that whole rigorous control regime we talked about, is paramount, absolutely paramount for maintaining partner trust. If they had even one serious lapse, if an exported system showed up in a sanctioned country or in the hands of some undesirable group, it could collapse the entire policy, freeze international partnerships overnight. The fallout would be huge.
Yeah. And finally, looking ahead, what's the long-term sort of structural challenge facing Kyiv as it attempts this massive shift from wartime necessity to becoming a genuine industrial powerhouse?
The challenge shifts dramatically. It goes from innovation, which they've proven they can do incredibly well, to standardization and scalability.
Right. Different skill set.
Totally different. Ukraine's success so far, it's been driven by rapid, decentralized wartime innovation, creating lots of bespoke prototypes very quickly to solve an immediate problem on the battlefield.
Adapt or die, basically.
Exactly. But to become a true global industrial powerhouse, to compete with the U.S. or European giants, they must transition to standardized, scalable mass production, meeting strict NATO interoperability requirements. That process. It requires massive industrial reorganization, huge investment, and, frankly, time.
It sounds like the really hard part is only just beginning, in a way, moving from being the world's most agile innovator to being one of the world's most reliable, standardized manufacturers. So, stepping back, what does this unprecedented move, exporting weapons while fighting a massive defensive war, what does it really say about the future of defense manufacturing and the value of battlefield experience?
Well, I think it suggests the global arms race of the future. It might not be won simply by the biggest spender or the country with the largest historical military budget.
Interesting.
It suggests the advantage might increasingly go to the most effective, the most agile, and crucially the most battle-tested innovator.
Hmm.
Ukraine has essentially established a radical new economic model here. The battlefield is the R&D lab, and the export market is the venture capital fund.
Wow.
It's a structure that kind of bypasses traditional, sometimes slow-moving military-industrial complexes.
Hmm.
And that agility, that proven effectiveness, that's now a commodity in itself, a very valuable one.
You've been listening to NationScope podcast, where Jordan and Jamie analyze the stories shaping America and the world. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.